All right, welcome everyone. My name is Kyle from Sentry. I'm a developer experience engineer, and today we're going to be looking at building and monitoring AI agents and MCP servers. Super fun stuff. We've done this at least once before, so maybe if you've been here before, this will be your second time through. We're going to be doing this together. It's going to be a collaborative effort. We're all going to work on the same project. I'm going to clone something down. We're going to go through setting up a MCP-enabled project, an AI-enabled project, and we're going to monitor it with Sentry. We're going to see things like how much we're spending. We're going to see how many calls go through. We're going to see what the AI is returning, and we're going to get more visibility into this kind of new type of application that we're all writing, where our responses are not guaranteed. They're coming from AI, so it gets a little bit more complicated in there. So we are going to work on this together. We have a link to the workshop. I'm going to put it in the chat, but everyone should have had it sent to them if you're here. There we go. So if you're on YouTube or some of the supported channels, you'll have the link in chat. I'm going to switch screens here. Here we are. Fantastic. So like I said, if you're joining us, follow along. We're going to be going at a speed that hopefully you can join us. We're going to be working together. I haven't gone fully through everything in here, so it's going to be a little bit of us working together. So let's give it a shot. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to clone down our project. We're going to get it set up. Then we're going to set up Sentry, and then we'll dig a little deeper into what the project actually is, how it works, and how it's connected to AI and such. And then we'll do the debugging. Towards the end, we'll definitely have a question and answers, but feel free to go ahead and put them in the chat at any time. Be happy to address those. All right, so let's get started. Obviously, you're going to need Git and Node. I'm assuming most of you have that. And the first thing we're going to want to do is fork this repository on GitHub. I had this earlier, but I've deleted it, so I'm going to fork it with y'all. We'll go up here. We'll click fork. Make sure that you are set as the owner of the repository. You can change the name if you want. It doesn't really matter. Create fork. And then once it has created, should only take a second. There we go. Once it has been created, we're going to go into settings. And then near the bottom, we should see, what are we looking for? Here we go, leave fork network. Unlink this repository from the fork network and make it its own standalone. If you're not familiar, forks are typically how you're going to contribute to a project. We're not actually contributing to this. We're just using it as a demo. We don't actually want to be connected to the original project. We just want to fork it. So we're going to take this, fork it. It's kind of the same thing as if you cloned it and then pushed it back up to your repository. Very, very similar. Okay, so we have a copy of our workshop, this Sentry Build AI workshop with our project inside. We'll take a quick look at the README while we're in here. We have an apps directory with a front end and a server. This is a React and Vite. Let me make this a little bigger for y'all. Apologies on that. And let me know if there's something, if y'all need anything changed, if the volume needs to be modified, let me know. Okay, so ideally we should have SSO authentication. That's one of the things we're going to be looking at more deeply. It is a course management app. This is actually something that will probably be real on Sentry at some point in the future, but right now it's just a demo, some search functionality, user profiles, all the basic stuff that you're typically familiar with, and then some instructions to follow along, basically very similar to what we are doing. So get that forked. And then let's head on back to our instructions. So we've already left the fork network. Now we're going to clone it to our computer. So open up a terminal, get into wherever it is that you clone your projects. And, hold on, we have the whole string there. There we go, git clone. Make sure that you change the username. In there right now is a placeholder. We just forked it, so now it's under our own organization. So I will put in my name. You should put in yours. There we go. CD Sentry Build AI Workshop. Now we're inside of our project. Clear that up. Okay, what else do we have to do? We just CD'd in, so we're good there. We're using the PNPM package manager. That is my favorite Node package manager. So we'll PNPM install. While that's running, let's take a look at what else we need. Okay, so we're going to create a .env file for the front end. We'll run touch apps frontend.env. And inside, we're going to put in the Vite API URL. Vite will allow us to proxy the backend so that we don't have any CORS errors or anything like that. It'll just be super simple. So here we're telling Vite, the front end packager. What is Vite? Build tool. There we go. that the API is going to live on port 3001/API. So let's go ahead and put that in. We actually don't even need to wait for the install to finish, although I'm sure it is finished by now. Yep. So we'll create that .env, and then we'll echo this line into that .env. Super simple, just a lot of copy and pasting. And similarly, we're going to have a .env for the backend, which is where we're actually going to tell the server, hey, you are going to be running on port 3001. So now the front end and back end will be in sync. So let's go ahead and pop these commands in. Very, very easy. Just a lot of copy and paste. And if you have any questions, like I said, feel free to write in the chat and we will take a pause. Okay, so database time. Every good application has to have a decent database, right? We have a lot of options out there, but we are big fans of NeonDB. They make it super, super easy to get started with an ephemeral database. And actually, they have this kind of cool system where they make it really easy to start up an ephemeral database, which is great for like our workshops and things like that. However, it's very easy to make it a permanent database in the future, right? So we can start off with this if we decide, hey, we did a good job and we like it. We can tell Neon, hey, keep that database. Don't delete it in a few days, and I'll actually sign up and use it and everything. So we're going to use the pnpx command. There we go, to install NeonDB. Let's go ahead and do that. And then we're going to have a few things here. So this project is already set up with a schema. It's already got an ORM. All we're doing is connecting it to the infrastructure, right? We're telling Neon to generate a database for us, and then we are going to push data to that database. So we'll run this command, pnpm db generate, and that will prepare ourselves to push up to NeonDB. So there we go. We're using Drizzle. It found 8 tables, and here's their table names. And there's a SQL migration file that was generated. That's what the db generate file did for us using Drizzle. And now we're going to use the db push command to push that up to Neon. So we'll do db push, pulling schema from database. There we go. Changes applied. Very simple. This is why we love Neon. That was very, very simple. That is usually one of the longer steps in setting up any type of project. Usually I would go to an SQLite for something local. It was as easy, maybe even easier, to use Neon in a real hosted database. So that's very, very cool stuff. We're big fans of Neon. I would say, I think it was easier. It's easier than doing a local SQLite database, which is pretty interesting. And you don't have to change anything in the future, right? The setup is set up for a cloud DB. It's not set up for a local DB. So there will be no changes in the near future. We can just decide to keep that. Okay, so we ran the seed command, which just injected some data into our database for us, which is already set up in the workshop. This is all stuff that we're just doing to get prepared. It's not super important right now. Oh, hey, from Toronto. We have an office in Toronto, and soon we'll be doing meetups there. So Gato Linux. Gato Linux. I hope we'll see you in Toronto. I'll definitely make a trip up there at some point. I'll definitely be in one of those. I'm in Philadelphia, by the way, folks. East Coast Philadelphia, US, but Toronto's not that far. Okay, so we've generated the data, we've pushed it up, we've seeded the database, we're ready to go. So we're gonna we'll double check. Where are we right now? We are in, okay, yes, we are in app server. So these instructions are correct. We're going to go back out to the root. And then we are going to run pnpm dev. And because this is a mono repo, it's going to run both of those servers at the same time for us. This is one of the reasons I'm a really big fan of pnpm. Really, really good mono repo support, just kind of baked in. Okay, so we do see we have a warning here. We'll come back to that'll be a later part, but we are missing an open API key. That's just part of this project. But we do see that now Vite is serving up our front end on 5173, and our backend API is running on port 3001. And you saw that we created those environment variables earlier, so we're set to go. Yeah, Serge, I would love to. Hey, from Brazil, awesome. I have at least 2 friends from Brazil. That's awesome. Although one of them is also in Toronto now, so we're bringing it full circle here. Okay, before I continue, so if, we ran our server, it's running. Here it is. We have what looks like our auth login. I'm not going to click anything yet because I just want to go back to our guides that we follow. But you should be at this point with me now if you're following along. check everything out, install your dependencies, set up the database, run the dev server. That's all we've done. And now we have this functional, almost functional website. Of course, it wouldn't be a demo, a workshop, if there wasn't something wrong with it. So we'll definitely figure out what's going on there. Confirm with the guide, follow along with me. And like I said, by the way, if you're just joining in now, this guide should have been mailed to you if you are signed up for this, but I will also just put it in the chat again, since we have some folks talking. There you go. Yeah, thank you very much. Throw that in the chat. Feel free to follow along. We're still on the quick start section, so we're just about to get into getting started with Sentry. Okay. So the project is now up and running. The front end is on 5173. The back end is on 3001. That's what we just verified. That's good. We have access to everything. Great. So yeah, we're finished. Now we're going to get started with Sentry. This is where we're going to start adding monitoring to our application, which, if it's not apparent now, it will be more apparent in the very near future. Hi from Berlin. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Hey, welcome. I've been to Berlin once. I am not one to travel, but Berlin is one of the few places that I have actually been to your zoo. Pretty solid. Okay. So getting started with Sentry. In this module, you learn how to set up Sentry monitoring in your full stack JavaScript application. We'll configure error monitoring, logging, session replays, and tracing for both Vite React alongside React Router 7. By the way, any framework you're using, like if you're not a JavaScript person, we have SDKs for everything. We're being very specific to SDKs for this particular project, but you can take anything we're talking about today and just apply it to just about anything else. I feel like I'm a little dark down here. Is that true? Hold on, I'm going to turn on this light. Oh no, I bumped my camera. Okay, I don't know if that actually made any difference. A little bit. Hopefully that light helps. Anyway, let's continue. So back in, yeah. Okay, so learning objectives. We're going to set up error monitoring, session replays. It's all the stuff we were just talking about. We're going to get set up. This is a good one. Set up distributed tracing. This is a thing that can trip people up. We're going to have two different projects in Sentry, right? Our front end application and our back end application, or API, are two different apps, right? I mean, they're in one repository in GitHub, but this is a mono repo, which, you know, as the name implies, is that it's actually two separate applications. They just happen to be in one repository. And similarly, we're going to treat it like that on Sentry. We're going to have two separate apps, and they're going to communicate with each other. So we'll actually be able to monitor what a user does when they're on the front end of the application, and then we'll be able to trace it through to the back end of the application. And that'll be useful for instance, if you're coming in fully blind on this workshop, what we want to do is capture errors that users experience in our production environments, right? So for instance, I run an app that's online. It has users. I've done what I can to test it locally, but people are going to experience things that I can't predict, and maybe it doesn't happen on my hardware and it only happens on their hardware. So we use Sentry to monitor everything that's happening in our application. Anytime some user runs into an error, we want to report that information back to ourselves. And what we're doing is we're setting up all of the instrumentation to make that happen. Okay, let's do it. So yeah, this is basically what I just went over. What is error monitoring? Well, let's go through each one real quick. We just talked about error monitoring. I didn't talk about alerting. So for instance, not only can we monitor for when errors happen in an application, but we can set up alerts for all types of things, not just when there's errors, but we can set up alerts for when our application slows down, or if there's connectivity issues, or database query issues. If things just get too slow, that's something that we want to know about. Session replays, one of my favorite features, actually definitely, first or second favorite feature. I have another one as well. Session replays we'll definitely look at as well, but that gives you a kind of a recording-like experience of what the user was doing when they ran into an error, so we can see what exactly happened if we want to try and replicate it ourselves, or just get a better idea of what was going on. Performance monitoring, that's going to go deeper into all of the metrics that I was talking about earlier with your latencies. So we're going to be able to see the performance of our app through how slow or fast it is, through those different calls and functions. And that'll help us know what we need to look at if we want to improve our app in the future. And then logging. Logging just makes it super easy to figure out what we're looking at. It correlates data with all of the spans that we're collecting, And it's actually really useful, not just for us, but for the AI as well, which we'll get into. But adding extra logs gives you more detail. It's kind of like how comments give you more detail in code. Logs give you more detail in execution, and then we can read back those logs. We can inject data into those logs. We'll get into that in a minute. But these are the items that we want to add into our project so that we can start monitoring them now. Okay, so for every language or framework that's out there, we should have at least one SDK that will help you automatically instrument some amount of Sentry's monitoring for you. You can do everything completely manually if you want to, but we don't have to do that. So luckily, we're using React Router 7, and we can use Sentry's React SDK to automatically instrument our router and start collecting the majority of our information automatically. So let's go ahead. We're going to copy this. We're going to run this pnpm add. We're going to add the React package to our front end. Let's go ahead. We can actually stop our dev server for right now. Add in our Sentry package. Okay, and now, so we have the Sentry React SDK. Now we need to add it to our project. And where we add it is important because we want to start collecting metrics on our project as soon as we can. We don't want to miss any errors or metrics or anything that could happen during the execution of our app. And anything that happens before we actually import the Sentry init function here will not be captured. So we want to do this really, really early. And that's what we're going to set up right now. We're going to create a file in apps front end source called instrument.ts. And we are going to copy this in. And I'm just going to jump ahead real quick and double check something. Okay, hold on. No, we'll do that later. Okay, great. So let's copy this. We're going to go to apps front end source instrument. So we'll open up, we haven't opened up cursor yet. Let's go back into, I'm using Ghosty. You can use whatever it is you want. I'm going to do cursor dot, and that'll open up our project in our code editor of choice, whichever one it is that you want to add. We have apps, front end, and where did we say this was going? Front end source instrument.ts. So, and let's make this bigger so y'all can see. Hopefully that's good enough. Let me know. All right, so we got source, and I have a terrible memory. Was it just directly? Yeah, instrument.ts. So we'll go in here, a new file, instrument.ts, and we will paste that in. Let me close, let's make this smaller and make that smaller. There we go. Okay, we will need to come back to this. We're gonna go through this together because I honestly forgot where it is. We have to add our DSN. I mentioned how we're gonna have two projects on Sentry, one for the front end and one for the back end. We're gonna have a key that needs to go here. And are we doing that in a moment or are we doing it now? You'll need to take note of your DSNs along the way, which you receive when you configure the projects. Okay, before you should create your, okay, yeah, it's right here. Let's do this. We're gonna create our two projects on Sentry together now because we wanna get these DSN keys. That's gonna be important. So we're gonna take a quick pause from the code and we're gonna go on to sentry.io. And you'll be able to see, this is my dashboard with some real errors in it from a real app that's out there running right now. Probably some stuff that I should take a look at, but what we're going to do for right now is we're going to uncheck those. And I'm going, well, let's apply it first. Apply that. And yeah, of course, that just, I just cleared the filter. So now we see everything. That's okay. Hit add new project. We're going to do a front end. So let's click on browser. And let's click on React. By the way, this doesn't matter too much right now. I'm really just picking a icon. It really doesn't change almost anything. It's just for a nice icon. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to type workshop front end or whatever you want. I'm on a personal account, so there's only the team is me. It's just myself. I'm not going to set up any alerts right now. I'm going to say I'll create my own alerts later. And we will do that, but we're going to do that later. I'm going to create a new project. Now, this is what we wanted. When we create the new project, first it's going to give us some instructions. This is part of the reason why we selected what SDK, because it will tell us, hey, you can install the Sentry React SDK, but we've already done that. What we want right here, excuse me, oh my goodness, voice just cracked. What we want right here is the DSN value, which is like our secret key, but it's not a secret. This is public information, so don't worry about, you know, adding it to secrets or anything like that. It is best practice to put it in an environment variable, but that's really more about ease of updating later. It's not secret information. This isn't something you have to keep hidden from people. Apart from apart from changing that, kind of gives you a different code snippet when you hit create project, which is yep, right here. And if you needed to modify that, you totally can, which is often the case depending on what integrations you need. We'll get into that a little bit later. So I'm going to put my DSN in directly. Like I said, if you want, you can put it in an environment variable. You can use like .env or something like that, and then you can load it in here. But it's not a secret, so I'm going to put it in directly. Don't copy me. Don't do as I say, not as I do, that kind of scenario. But for a workshop, we're going to be fine. Okay, let's head back. So we've entered in our DSN. We've set up the instrument.ts for our front end. Yes, and now what we need to do, remember a few moments ago I mentioned we need to get the instrument.ts loading as fast as possible because we don't want to lose any of that information as the program executes. If there's an error before we start monitoring, we won't know about it. So what we want to do now is take that instrument.ts that we created, and we're going to import it right at the very, very top of our main.tsx file. And let me copy the whole thing here because I actually don't remember what's in the main.tsx. Let's do that. Go in main.tsx. Yep, we're just gonna replace the whole thing, make it a little easier. Okay, so what we did, let's just take a quick look at what was here and what wasn't here. First things first is we import instrument.ts immediately, which is going to make sure that we run this sentry.init method, which tells Sentry to start sending all of our traces and metrics to this DSN. And then inside of our application, we've wrapped our app in a global level error check, right? So now any uncaught error that happens inside of our app, ideally we want to catch all of our errors, and that will help us be better organized. It'll help us find things easier in the future, but we don't have to do that. Everything is instrumented automatically, and anything that causes an error that's uncaught, it has to flow through your application. It comes up to the surface, right? And at that top level is this application. And if at this point you don't catch the error, it would just go away silently. So what we're doing here is we're saying, hey, if we haven't caught the error at this point, this is our last chance. Take that error, send it over to Sentry. That's what we're doing right here. On caught error, Sentry.React error handler function, then we're passing in some information there. So quick global error check. Okay, now, did we import that yet? Okay, so now what we're going to do, this is part of the same process. We're actually going to create that error boundary as a component. So inside source components error boundary, that's where we're going to be. Copy this. Source components error boundary, capital E, capital B, components, new file, error boundary .tsx. Oh, not TSC, TSX. Turn off my heater, apologies. Oh, okay. All right, so now we've imported, just make sure I put that in the right spot. Yep, components error boundary.tsx, and we can go through here as well. This is going to be the React component to that error boundary that we were talking about earlier. We don't actually need to go through all of this. The important thing to know is this is how React is going to catch those errors as they come through. So we're going to go back to our app.tsx to include the Sentry error boundary and the React router. So you can see them right here. Import Sentry from React, and then import the error boundary. And if I go down here, give me 1 second, route, error element. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so inside of our router, you can see here, there is a error element that we can pass in, and that's where our error boundary is going to be. And that error boundary component that we just created is what's going to ultimately send everything up to Sentry. You don't have to, none of this has to be written Manually, you can copy all of this out here. And by the way, like I was saying earlier, this is all instrumented automatically. What we're adding now is helping you catch the extras, right? The everything that you could potentially miss. And it is absolutely best practice, not technically required. By the way, the name of the file is different to export. It shouldn't matter though. By the way, the name of the file is different to export. Let me do error boundary. There's also like a big delay on this, so now I have to double check what you were referring to. I think you're like a full 40 seconds behind me, unfortunately. We'll double check. You're saying I have something exported with the wrong name. By the way, name of the file is different to export. I'll keep that in mind. We'll take a look. If there's an error, it'll come up, and hopefully Sentry will catch it too if it makes it past the build stage. Okay, so we have our error boundary. We're going to app.tsx. So let's copy this. Should have everything we need there. Close that, app.tsx. And if we go in here, we should see, yeah, so here is our context or router, routes, and there shouldn't be any error. Yeah, there's no error component in here right now. So essentially, even though we're capturing all of those error exceptions, they just don't make it anywhere. So we're going to replace all of this. Here we go. Now, what do we... yeah, this is what you were talking about. By the way, the name of the file is different to export. It shouldn't matter, though. So what did I name it? Components, error boundary, boundary. I spelled it wrong. Rename boundary. Thank you. Appreciate that. I knew you were talking about something like this. Okay, now I think it just hasn't updated yet. Let's try a fix in chat. See what cursor says. Pretty sure I could just restart the TypeScript engine and it should fix it. Let me do that while that's doing it. Restart TypeScript server. Of course, it's one of my most used things. Yeah. Oh, no. Okay, I still did something wrong. Hold on. Did I still spell it wrong? Error bound. Yeah, I did. I still spelled it wrong. Oh my goodness. I have the dyslexia. Okay, now that's gone. Okay, and you can see my spelling mistake there. That's why this is what AI is really for. It's here to fix my spelling mistakes. Okay, we still have some issues though that I don't expect to be here. This one we probably do. What's this one? Cannot find name, use auth. We'll take a look at that. Navigate. Did you mean navigate? No, I definitely did not. All right, hold on. We'll come back to that. I just want to make sure that it's not part of our guide. Shouldn't be though. Set up the Vite plugin for sort. No, we'll do that in a second. Let's figure out why cursor is mad at us real quick. I don't think these are real errors. Let's see. Yeah, that's any. We can leave that alone. That's a real error. Let's see why this is yelling at me. Fix in chat. Throw this in there. What else do we have? Oh, you know what? It's are we just missing the React import and it's yelling at me because of this? Sometimes it wants React imported at the top just to like tell it that it's it's going to add React now. Hold on. Yeah. Import React. Yeah. So sometimes your code is completely valid, but your code editor just won't. Actually, we did import more than that. We have yeah, I am concerned. We have made more changes here than I would like. Import profile page. Let's undo this real quick just to see what the difference was. Yeah, that was too much. We might have to, let's follow let's go back up to the top. We're going to reread again, and then we're just going to follow through because this course works. We've gone through it before. So either I missed something or it's coming up later. So let's go through this together. Import and update your main.tsx entry point. We've done that. Create your error boundary. We did that, but we spelled it wrong, but that's okay because we fixed it. And now update your app.tsx to include your Sentry error boundary and React router. We did this as well. Just go through here. Okay, and give me 1 second, folks, because I can't get my air on. I need to open this window. Okay, glorious. Okay. Okay, we're just going to move forward for now. If we need to fix it, that's why we have cursor, and that's good, but I do think that it's going to come up in the very near future. So let's talk about what's going on next. Now we're setting up Sentry Wizard source maps, right? So what are source maps and why do we need them? When you are sending your traces to Sentry, and this is true of pretty much like any JavaScript application, but you're sending over the built version, right? The part that like Vite is creating. And when Sentry gets information about these errors, it gets information about the signatures. It doesn't get information about the actual source code. So what we would know from Sentry normally is, hey, some function had an error, but we're not going to know is where in your source code is that error? What line is it on? We're not going to know what arguments it takes. We're not going to know a lot of information. We're going to have a crude analogy, but a somewhat of an analogy would be it's kind of like the assembly language of JavaScript, we'll say. So if we want to map what happens in our application to the actual source code that we write, well, we either need access to the source code directly, but in either case, even if we have access to the source code directly, we need a source map. And that's, you've probably seen these before. They're the .map.js files that are sometimes in your applications after you build them. And Sentry can use those and read those to connect errors that happen in your application with where they happened in your source code. If you give access to source code, which we'll be talking about that in a minute. Even if you don't give access to your source code, it still lets us give you higher quality errors, right? Instead of giving you these random looking strings that are attached to what executed in your code, we can rewrite those errors as what they should look like in your actual code and give you line numbers and things like that. So these are all things that you definitely want. So let's do this. We're going to CD into the front end. We're going to use pnpx Sentry Wizard latest, and then we're going to install the source maps. I still want to know, I don't want to dive in too deep right now because I want to keep a flow going and we have a time, but we do have some errors that we're going to have to go through here. Some of these are real, some of these are not. We'll come back to it. Let's get our terminal open and install the source maps. It should only take a second. There we go. You have uncommitted or untracked files in your repo. That's okay. It's warning us because it's going to edit some files. So if you wanted to commit your changes before you did this, that would be a smart thing to do if you were doing things in a structured way. I don't mind. So I'm going to say, go ahead. Are you using the SaaS or self-hosted version of Sentry? We're using Sentry.io. Do you already have a Sentry account? Yes, I do. We're going to select the project. This is our workshop front end. Here we go. Which framework, bundler, or build tool are you using? We already know we're using Vite, which is also the default. So that worked out fantastically. We'll press that. Which package manager? We are using pnpm. Let's install that. And let's, are we using CI/CD? I don't believe we are for this guide, but let's just go back to our workshop and double check. There we go. Select no when you were asked about using CI/CD. No. Fantastic. If you did set that up, we could talk about, if you have any questions about GitHub Actions, we can go over those as well, but that's just not part of this workshop. Okay, so that's it. The vite.config.ts file will be updated, and you will see a .env.sentry build plugin file next to your .env file. We don't actually need to worry about that, but we can just double check and make sure it's there. There it is. Fantastic. And there is our DSN as well. Okay, so now we're going to do the backend. We have not set up the backend on Sentry.io yet, so let's go ahead and do that. It's going to be exactly the same as the front end. We're just going to make a new project. So I will go up to projects. I will create a new project. This is going to be a, let's just double check what this says. Are we doing, oh, we don't have that. That's okay. We just click node because that's the SDK we're using. Server. I lied. Just go here. I just want to do, there we go. Node.js, no particular framework, not like Next.js or something like that. We're going to turn off alerts. We're going to call this the AI workshop backend, because I unfortunately already have something called workshop backend. Create project. Yeah, so it's going to ask you, when you just choose a vanilla project, it assumes that you've made a mistake because there are other libraries that we can use that are better instrumented. In fact, I do just want to double check. We're just using Node. We're just using Node. So we'll go back here. We're just using regular old Node, configure SDK. We're good to go. And there is our DSN, just as before. By the way, if you ever lose these, like I said, they're not secrets or anything. You can always get them again. You just need to go into the project settings. Where am I? Hold on. It's because we're in this weird in-between state before we've actually done anything. If I go to projects, AI workshop backend setting, there we go, project settings, and there's my DSN. There we go. That would have been one click easier if we had the project set up, but we were in an in-between state. So there it is. If you lose it, you can get that for any of your projects. Okay, so I'm going to paste that right there for a second so I don't lose it. Let's go ahead and add our SDK for the backend. So I'm going to back up, go to back end. There we go. Server, excuse me, server, add Sentry node. Hold on, sorry, we actually want to go to the root, excuse me. One more, there we go, ls, there we go. Now we're gonna run Sentry node. The reason I had to go to the root is because I missed that we have this filter on. If we have the filter that's looking for mono repos, and we want to do that from the root so that it can actually go into the correct package.json. Okay, so we've added the SDK to the back. We're now going to add apps server instrument.ts. So we'll go in here. Let's close front end, server, source. Actually, no, not source, just apps server instrument.ts. Normally I would put mine in my source folder, but it doesn't really matter as long as you import it in the correct location. I'm going to take my DSN that we copied earlier, put it in here. And this is just like the front end. So we have the Sentry init function. The only difference is we're using Sentry node instead of Sentry React. I also want you to notice that we do have enable logs on as well. And we have trace of sample rate set to 1, just so you see that we're going to be collecting all of our traces. They are not secrets, but at this time, having someone else's DSN, I could potentially flood. Yeah, that's true. I could potentially flood unrelated issues. This is true. And something, yeah, it's a good thing to bring up. So DSNs are not secrets, but you should know that theoretically, I mean, not theoretically, it's not theoretical at all. It's legitimate. If someone has your DSN, the thing that they could do with it is send unrelated errors to your Sentry account. And, I suppose there could be like a type of attack there where they could like exhaust your rates and things like that. They can't do anything really all that useful with it. And the maybe unfortunate thing, maybe it doesn't matter kind of thing, is at least for our front end applications, there's really no way around it. You have to expose the DSN. It's part of the front end application. There's nothing that you can really hide in the front end. You do get to hide your back end DSN just by the nature of it being in the back end, but they are functionally the same. It doesn't really matter that one's hidden and one's not. It would be ideal to not have, people flood your Sentry account with nonsense, but they would, it would be a malicious attack, and it's not something that most people really worry about. Not that you can worry about it. It's, public key, a similar thing that exists just for context in case people are thinking this is like a unique scenario. If you've ever used Algolia search indexer, they have a similar thing where there's the index key for their search it has to be in the front end. There's just nothing you could do about it. What is the worst thing that someone could do? They could exhaust the usage of that key, perhaps, things like that. But there's no like secret information behind these keys. You can't expose anything with this information. And if anyone's thinking like, oh, I have Kyle's key now and I'm going to go do something with it. One, I'm going to delete these keys later. But two, like I said, you really can't do anything with it. It's functional for us to send in metrics, but not really useful for anyone else. Okay, so we've set up our DSN on the instrument.ts. Now we need to import it into our index.ts. So let me copy this. This is also a bit simpler than the React setup, as you can see. However, I have lied to you. And I do see Express too, so we might have to check that. Update and import your index.ts entry point. Let me just take this. Add this before all. Yeah, here we go. Add this before all routes. This is important. Good thing we didn't skip this. Add this before all routes, but before any other error handling middlewares are defined, such as you can see right here, Sentry setup express error handler. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this at the top. Go back into our code editor. We're going to paste it in at the very, very, very top so that Sentry runs first. Of course, we're not using it yet. So I want to take the Sentry setup express error handler. And where are we going to put this? That's the question. We can probably put it. We're going to put it before that. We're going to put it right. Can I put it before app.use? No, we have to put it in. Yeah, we have to put it inside. So we're going to put it inside app.use, but before any middleware. And I'm pretty sure, I just want to see if I put it here, that's not going to give any. Oh, does it work outside? Add an express error handler. It might work outside. Yeah, let's take it outside. If it doesn't work, then you know what I did wrong and we have to move it back. Add this before any routes, but before any other error handling. Let me just take one more peek at it. And I apologize for the wait. And I really wish, what's really bothering me right now, I apologize. I can't get my fan on. In fact, hold on. I apologize, guys, because this is going to bother me for the rest. Give me 1 second. Okay. Deeply apologize for that. If I have the heat on in one room, you can't turn the fan on in this room. So that's what happened. Okay, so we have our Sentry.setup express middleware handler, and then we're feeding in the app. Okay, that answers our question right there. We're feeding in the app, so we can't put it right there. What we're going to do is we're going to put it after all of this. Let's put it express.json. Is that a middleware? I don't think so. I think it is actually. Let's do, yeah, middleware. Okay, perfect, right there. Before any other error handling middleware is defined. So we're putting it before all the middleware. It doesn't really matter, but that should work just fine. Okay, so use Sentry's wizard again to set up the source maps on the server project. This is exactly the same as before. PNPX, Sentry wizard source maps. Make sure that we're in the server directory, which right now I do believe that we are in the root. There we go. Yep, there we go. What did we do wrong? We need to be one lower. What is it? Packages, right? CD packages. 1 second, folks. We'll get there eventually, I promise. Where am I? LS, CD, apps, not packages. Oh my goodness. You work on so many different projects that all have like different setups and it becomes an issue. See, what is happening? CD. It just assumed that we were one deeper. Here we go. There we go. Okay, now we're finally in. You have uncommitted or untracked files. Yes, we've done this before. Are you using the Sentry.io or the self-hosted version? We're using Sentry.io. Do you have a Sentry account? Yes, we do. Oh, there we go. I accidentally pressed twice, but that's okay. The next one that came up that you didn't see because I accidentally double tapped was Do we want to authenticate? And yes, we do. AI Workshop backend. Is that correct? Yes, it is. Okay. Go back to the terminal. We're going to use Vite. We're going to use pnpm. Install the plugin. Do you have vconfig? I should. That should have been automatic. Let's just see. Please enter the path to your vconfig file. Did we do this from the wrong directory? We might have. Let's double check. vite.config.js. Let's look at our backend apps server. And do we not have a vite.js? What happened to that? Okay, hold on. Control P, Vite, config. Yeah, that's for the front end though. Hold on. Let's go back here. Oh, I'm sorry. We should not have selected. The prompts will be the same, with the only difference being this time that we'll select ES-build instead of Vite. That was my mistake. Okay, hold on. Here we go. Sorry if you're following along and you did the same thing as me. Here we go. Let's do it again. We are in server, so we don't need the CD server. We can just run the pnpx. Continue anyway. Yes, yes, yes. Select the correct project. And now here we go. Apologies before. We're clicking ES-build now. pnpm. There we go. You didn't pray to the demo gods, did you? Yeah. You know what's funny is it actually selected. Here's something about how smart the wizard is and how dumb I am. If you noticed, and you can rewind it and watch, the wizard actually selected ES-build first by default. PWD. Yeah, I should have done that. Thank you. It actually selected ES-build by default, and then because I'm just so used to working with React and such, selected Vite. So if you actually let the wizard just be smart, the wizard will be smart. Don't try to outsmart the wizard. Okay, I'm going to copy this, although I do believe it's part of our setup. So add the following code to your ES-build config. We'll copy that. Did you copy the snippet above? Yes, I did. And we will go, okay, take that. Failed adding, okay, that's fine. I'm not sure why, but it failed adding the .env.sentry build plugin to the .gitignore. Again, it just has our code in it, so it doesn't really matter, but we should fix that. I'm also curious why it failed. That's interesting. And we're not going to be doing any CI. That is everything. So there's our application. Okay, so let's go. The first thing we want to do is I want to make sure that we add that correctly to our .env. We want to add the .env.sentry build to our gitignore. Oh, and it might just be because it's probably not in here, is it? Yeah, it's just in the root. Is that correct? Yeah, it didn't do it because it's in the root. And that should be okay. Let's just see if there's anything in here. Yes, perfect. You see in our root, we have the .env.sentry build plugin. So if it was assuming that this was a singular repository and not a mono repo, that would have been an issue. It's not an issue. We're in a mono repo. Okay, so do we have everything set up now? Let's see. We go through. Yeah, nope, we didn't update our ES-build config yet. I'm glad that it reminded me. Be sure to add the generated Sentry ES-build plugin in the plugins array of the build configuration in apps server build.js. So let's do that. Server build.js. Here we go. And where was it? Is it in plugins? What do we have here? Let me paste in what do we have? Require ES-build. No, I think we're good just like this. Require ES. Oh, no. Here we go. ES. Are we replacing this? I think we are replacing this. Be sure to add the generated. Nope, sorry. This is just a separate plugin. Sentry ES plugin in the plugins array. Here we go. There we go. If you actually read, things will make sense. Plugins array. Here we go. Do we have to move this up? And possibly this up? No. Okay, I'm sorry. Here we go. Here we go. One last time. Take this. This is what we're taking right here. We should do diffs. That would be ideal. There we go. So if you couldn't follow my mess there, which is totally fair, what we're actually doing is there is the what this was showing us is there's a plugins array right here, which is already in our, oops, oh, I did not mean to show that. Should quit that. So our es.build already had a plugins array. What was confusing was this was mixed in, and we already have that, so I can remove that. And this actually belongs at the top. There we go. Down below, we have our plugins array. If I wanted to format this, that would be ideal. Oh, we don't have a formatter yet. There we go. Get that on a new line. Here we go. So that auth token, process.env Sentry auth token, that will go in that generated .env file that's down there. And like I said, we're going to delete those later, so don't fret if you saw anything there. Okay, so now technically everything is good to go. We have Sentry configured. Our app is supposed to work, right? We're supposed to be able to log in. And now we're going to monitor any of those errors that could potentially happen. At this point, in real life, we're assuming maybe there is no errors. But now we have Sentry, so we're going to find out. So let's make sure we are in the root, and then we'll run pnpm dev. So we'll go, this time we're actually correct. Here we go. If there is an error from what we, nope, okay. So those errors we saw earlier that I was worried about, those were type errors and not something that we actually should have to worry about, which is good. So let's open up that dev server. Oh, maybe not. Maybe those type errors were legit. Let's take a look at what we got. So we have, yeah, that was legitimate. Routes is not defined, so we know exactly where that error was. I'm actually just going to use Claude to get us back on track, because I'm not sure where these came from. We have import all from Sentry as Sentry React. We have the error boundary. And then we have Sentry routes. Let's just double check where this could have come from. Nope. Okay, I'm going to have Claude come in and save the day real quick, because I'm not sure where this came from, and I don't want to spend too long on stream on it. We have this value here, routes, but I'm not sure where it came from. While it's doing that, let me go back up. Was it same page, right? Yeah, it was right around here. Yep, same thing. Previous, oh, we might have accidentally, I think we accidentally deleted the previous import. Where am I going? Cursor. I hope that's correct. Here, you know what we'll do is we're going to go back to GitHub real quick. Go to apps, go to front end, go to source. Where is this? Where are we going? App.tsx. Here we go. We forgot all of this. Excuse me. We replaced everything and we shouldn't have. Protected route. Just make sure that this is in there. It is good. Okay. So what we should have done, keep Sentry at the top, put these back in. Now everything should work. Go back in here. Let's restart this. Okay, good stuff. I knew there was a problem when it said that it was an any type that shouldn't have been. Here we go. We made it. Okay, we're online. So if you are following along, you might have gotten a little lost, and that's my fault. Apologies. But we should now have a working demo application, and theoretically, it should be connected to Sentry. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to test that, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's go through our workshop. Go through to the bottom. We've done this already. We've done that already. We've done this. Okay, here we go. Once that's loaded, you can browse to this URL and view Sentry Academy, which we have done. Now, we need to configure and ensure that Sentry and GitHub are properly configured so that later we can use Seer. If you haven't heard about Seer yet, that's really, really cool. Stick around for a second with me. I'll explain it. This way, Seer can have the full context to our code, and will be able to provide us with the best possible suggestions. We can even have it open PRs. Okay, so let me explain that real quick. So we are going to be using Seer, which is Sentry's AI agent, to review our code. We can do it in pull requests. We can also have Seer look at the issues that come in. As new issues come in from our users, let's say a user is using our app, they run into an issue. Seer is going to look at the issue when it comes in, just like you would as a person. It's going to review the traces. It's going to review the logs. It's going to get all of that additional context, and it's going to be able to resolve that issue. Now, in order to do that properly, as well as in order to open up a pull request, we have to give it access to our code base so that it can actually investigate the problem. Without access to our code base, it can still give us some information about what might have caused the issue, but it won't be necessarily as accurate. It also won't be able to provide a fix, or at least not code up a fix. It can inform you on what you would need to do. So let's get started. Do I have the links in here? Yeah. So we're going to go to our organization settings. We have a link in here automatically. That's nice. And we want to make sure that we have both of these in with one thing in the middle. We want to have show generative AI features on, and then you can skip this one. That's something else. And then enable AI code review. We also want that on. This is one of my favorite features. They're both really good features, but I use AI code review all day, every day. Okay, so we're going to set up the GitHub integration. We need to go to organization, settings, integrations, GitHub. Yes, and I will have already had this set up, but you can follow along. So we'll go into integrations. And then you can see here we have, let me make that a little bigger for you. We have the GitHub application, and you can see for me, I already have 2 integrations here. So you should see a button. Actually, let me just click into that. There we go. You should have this add installation button. I am not going to do it, but you can. When you have this open, you're going to integrate with a new GitHub organization. You're going to select your GitHub organization, and you're going to connect our GitHub application to your GitHub app, and that'll give Seer access to your repository. We will have to add one more thing. Let me see if we've done this yet. If you have the legacy GitHub integration installed, you can use this button to upgrade, blah, blah, blah. Select which repository Sentry should have access to. So yeah, there's going to be a checkbox that'll ask you, do you want to give access to all repositories on GitHub, or do you want to select some? Because you are giving your source code over, it's like, it's understandable if you don't want to give access to all. So you may want to go in there and select which ones you want. I will say, if you do that, though, it's going to be kind of annoying in the future when you want to add more. It's not impossible. It's just that you're going to have to go through the setup every time. So, I added all of mine. Whatever you do is up to you. So return to the Sentry integrations page, navigate to your new GitHub instance in Sentry, and click on the configurations tab. Then choose configure your instance. Let's just take a quick look here. There we go, configurations. And then I have 2 organizations set up here, but we're working on my personal one here. So we'll go to configuration. And this is what I was talking about. You can set up your repositories. In this case, I actually do have manually set repositories. So we actually do need to add the AI workshop. There it is, Sentry build AI workshop. And the only reason that showed up in that list is because I did give Sentry access to all of my GitHub GitHub repositories. So if you go into this dropdown and you search readmes and you're not finding your repo, that is probably because you did not allow access to all. Even though you give us access to all, we don't actually act on that unless you tell us right here. So it's not automatic is what I'm trying to get at. You'll have to tell us that you want to add your repository here. That should be all we need. I'm sorry, I'll close that window. You can all hear the cops, can't you? They're coming for me. We finally have the fan on, which is significantly better than it was earlier. We got these code maps here. This should update in the near future when we push some code maps. We set those up earlier, but they're not here yet. Okay, so make sure you've given Sentry access to these repositories. That's what we were just talking about. We're good to go. So now we finally did it. Sentry is configured. Our app is running. It's time to actually get in here and start working on things. Oh man, I am realizing how slow we have been. That is an issue. I apologize, folks. This was supposed to be an hour and we're not even close to done. So we're going to have to, we'll see how this goes. The application is up and running, but when you try to sign in, you get an error. These errors show up in Sentry, which is great, but how can we use tracing and logs to troubleshoot these issues? So let's actually do that now. We have our dev server running. We were looking at it earlier. Here is our login page. I'm going to give it a quick refresh. And if I click continue with, let's do a continue with GitHub, we can see that didn't work. Failed to log in with GitHub, issue with login signature. We can see some stuff going on here in our console. And of course, that's very useful for us, but imagine this is installed on one of our users' machines and we don't have access to that information. That's going to be an issue. So let's actually go to Sentry real quick. Let's go to our issues. Let's go to our projects. Let's make sure that we have only the workshop that we're working on selected. And if we give it a minute, did our Sentry stuff go through? String not decoded correctly, auth service. Yeah, this looks correct. And do I see any Sentry spans going through? That's a question. Let's go through. Yep, we do. Okay. Give it a second. Where'd it go? Right here. Okay, that's interesting. We do have our spans going through. Sorry, folks. Let me debug here for a second. You can see right here. So let me refresh the page. One thing you'll notice is that after you set up Sentry, you'll notice spans start sending like this, where you get these 200 statuses with these envelopes, as they're called. And that's going to start taking all of the data. Elbow cough. Yeah. It's going to start taking all of the data and sending it over to Sentry. And when we get an error like this, and I'm hoping the demo gods don't do me too dirty right now, we should catch these errors both on the back end and the front end. You know what we haven't done, and maybe that's part of the issue. Yeah, okay, let's keep going. I apologize. I might have jumped the gun a little bit. Okay, so let's do this. By the end of this module, you will create custom spans that will track. Now let me not jump the gun. Create custom spans that will track specific attributes within your application. Use the Trace Explorer, yada, yada, yada. Let's go on. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and make sure that we get some named spans in. I should have seen some default stuff come through, but let's just go through and make sure that we haven't skipped anything important. When you do things live, sometimes you miss things. So we're going to navigate to the login form. And we're going to try and catch specific issues that happen as a part of the login form. That's what we were just testing as like a generic, but we can get more specific in now. So let's go to components auth login form on the front end. Components auth login form. We are going to import Sentry from Sentry React at the top. We'll do this in any type of React component that we want to add custom spans to. These are just going to be easier for us to go in and search later. We're going to add the Sentry logger. I actually personally often use the console logging integration, so you don't actually have to use a separate logger like this, but that is a totally up to you type of thing. And we're going to replace the complete handle SSO. So we were just trying to do an SSO login a moment ago. What we're going to do now is we're going to wrap that SSO login in a custom Sentry span so that any errors that do get captured as a part of that login, we're going to attach extra information to them. And the reason we would do that is because the login is very important to us, right? We want to capture all errors in our application, but we specifically want to make sure that we capture anything critical with the login because that's one of the most important functions of our application. So replace the complete handle SSO function. Is this just that function? Yes, it is. Let's copy that. Let's go back in here and handle SSO, that's the SSO button. Here's the login form. Where's the handle SSO? Auth login form. Am I blind? Could be. Very likely. Apps front end source components auth login form, SSO button, SSO login form. Okay, yeah, I bet it's in here. There, okay. Handle SSO, that makes sense. I thought it was the top level, excuse me. Take that, paste it in here, make sure that we have it aligned correctly. We do, fantastic. And now let's just go through and see what we've added. Actually, it'll be easier to look at it through here. So what we do is we start with, or we wrap in a Sentry start span, right? So we have this try catch, which is good for when we want to try and find errors in our application. You would do that anyway. Inside of our try, we have this await Sentry.start span, and then we can start adding in some extra information that'll be useful when we want to search it up later. For instance, we're going to name this span sso.authentication.frontend. This dot convention is just a convention. You can do whatever you want. The operation, we're going to call this auth.sso, and we can add in some other attributes too, like auth.provider, and then the provider object. So this will be like if it's GitHub or if it's Google. And then this is all part of our regular code, except we're adding in some things too. Like we imported that Sentry logger. So now we're going to insert some logs in info log. We're going to log the logging in user with their email using this provider. It's very similar to the information that's up here. Oops, but it's in a log. And this is all just setting custom metadata. This is all metadata that we can search on earlier. And like I said, this is optional. But what's really useful here, like I said, if this user has an error, we want to easily be able to tell, okay, so this is the user ID that had the error. Here's the email of the user that had the error, which, by the way, you may not want to include if you're being good about PII, but we're doing a workshop. And then, which provider they use and all that other information. So it's just making it easier for us. Now, try logging in again, and hopefully we catch it this time. I really do hope we catch it this time. Let's pray to the gods. Okay, so everything here looks good. We've loaded in a bunch of integrations. We're going to go back to our application. We're going to reload the page. There we go. And let's try again, this time with the try catch enabled. There we go. Failed to log in with Google, issue with login signature. Everything looks pretty much the same. But if everything is working correctly, because we did put it in a try catch, we should see it pop up here momentarily. And I will be very upset if it's not. Make sure I also have the correct which workshop. Yeah, that's correct. No, it's not correct. There we go. Do that. My mistake. We had the wrong thing selected. Apply. There we go. Okay, we had it before too. Super apologize. That was because I have two things named workshop, and it actually started in the front end, and we haven't done any distributed tracing yet. So things are happening. So what happened 16 minutes ago, or sorry, yeah, no, that was correct. 16 minutes ago was when we had this routes not defined issue. That was when we had that import issue that we fixed earlier. And then we have 37 seconds ago was the string to be decoded is not correctly encoded. That's interesting. So I'm not going to jump the gun again because we've seen how that works out, but we have an issue here with our login, and here is our error. And we see that it happened 37 seconds ago. It first happened 8 minutes ago. And you can see here there's 2 invocations of this error. It's happened from one user. 3 total events. Okay. Another thing you can see, I don't want to jump the gun too much, but you can see that it has a replay attached to it. So we'll look at the session replay in a moment. But before we do that, let's follow along with our workshop. So in Sentry, navigate to Explore Traces, and in Sentry's left navigation menu, using the search, use span.description filter with the SSO to get the value. So now let's use those attributes that we applied a moment ago. Let's go in Sentry.io. Let's go to Explore Traces, and we are going to use span.description. So I'm going to type in here span.description, and it should pre-populate with the options that are already being sent to Sentry right now. There's quite a few in there, so I'm going to limit it down. What did we say it was? It was sso.authentication. Get rid of that. sso.authentication.frontend. There we go. And that's what's really nice about having that kind of dot convention that we were talking about, because now I can go through this span explorer, and I can dive deeper down into different operations. Okay, you can type this in full or choose the span.description filter. So we've done that. And now we can see, here we go. We only have one sample right now because we just triggered it. We have one span ID. You can see the span name is auth.sso, which is what we set in our code. Same thing, we set the is it the op or the description name? Excuse me. We have the, here we go. So we have the op in the name, right? So name sso.authentication.frontend, and the op, the operation, is auth.sso. And that helps us find these spans later. And I can click into these, and I'm getting ahead of myself again, but we can start looking at the waterfall of the operations that took place when the user visited this page. So you can see they loaded up the login page, and that took a fairly significant amount of time. It's something we might want to look at, 2.36 seconds. They then interacted with the login button, which triggered this auth.sso, which you can then see made a request, a post request to an HTTP server. It responded with an error. And that's how we can look through how everything happened on our application after setting it up. So we just went through all this information because I cannot help myself but to jump the gun. So we looked at the trace. What we haven't looked at is the logs, and we could do this a few different ways. I'm going to go through, I think I should have them right here too, right? Yes. I like to do it through here. We can go through the log explorer, right? Just like how there's the traces explorer, there's the log explorer, and it works very much the same. We can query. But since I'm already in this trace, and this is the trace that I'm interested in anyway, what I can do is I can scroll down here and I can click on the logs, and I can see there is just one log attached. And can I open this up in a full view? I thought I could. No? There we go. Okay, there's the full, no, I lied. I just got to the project. All right, let's go to Explorer Logs. We'll just do it through here. Make sure that we have the front end selected. It looks like it is. Hold on, we had a log. We literally just saw it. Where did it go? AI front end workshop front. Is that not the right one? No, it is. Let's go back. We have this one log here. Where did you live? Where did you come from? Here we go. Logging user email using Google. This is what we were looking at earlier. Here's our what do you call it? Seeded information that we have in there. And I'm not sure why. Let's go back to our setup here. The front end. Yeah, we should have our logs in here. I'm wondering. I'm not actually sure what's going on right now. This one's before I had inklings of ideas. I'm not really sure what's happening right now. The log is there. Why it's not showing up in my Explorer? It's got to be a caching issue of some kind. It's in our front end. Let's just click the. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. And just double check, make sure that was a front end log, right? Oh yeah, dude, the UI, this is a new UI too, by the way. I don't know if there's a name for this design, which I should ask them, but this kind of like flat, what would you call this? I don't know. It's a good design though. I really like it. Oh, and now, okay, and there it is. Yeah, and it's showing occurred login. All right, I'm gonna skip forward on that. The demo gods are not being happy with me right now. I'm not sure why. I mean, the log's right there. We can even see the React front end logo, so I can tell you it's definitely front end. I think, is my ad blocker running or something? No, I'm not sure what's going on here. We'll come back to this. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it was a cache issue. Apologies. I refreshed the page and now it's back. So there was a cache thing going on. It was there the whole time. And it's just the demo gods. Super apologies. Chunk UI. Yeah, right there. So here's our front end logs. We can see the logging user email was the method, and then Google was the source. What did we call that? The provider. There we go. The provider. And yeah, if anyone wants to write down the issue for me, that we had some kind of cache reloading issue. That would be awesome. And then we also see, so like, here's something to know is that this was an info, right? This is a severity info. And you see how it's coming up with this blue dot. This one is a severity of error, and it comes up with this orange dot. So we could even do things like severity dot error. There we go. And there's our error. We could look at all of our error logs from there. We could go in from here and we could start looking at our traces, right? So now we've gone both directions. We've gone from the trace to the error. We did have that weird cache issue in the middle. I apologize for that. And then we've gone from the log back to the trace. So from trace to log, excuse me, from log to trace. There we go. So we can jump back and forth through our app like that. Okay, backend implementation. Now let's instrument the backend authentication flow to trace the server-side processing and identify where the issue occurs. This is where we're going to get a little bit deeper into. I just want to skip ahead a little bit. Nope, I got too far ahead. Okay, so let's go ahead and implement the backend. We're going to go to auth routes.ts, server modules auth routes, server source. How did I get? Oh, there it is. Source modules auth routes. There we go. We got somewhere. I want to do that at the very, very top. Ideally, add the logger for destructuring. Add the logger. Oh, add the logger destructuring after your imports. Excuse me. Dyslexia hits again. And we're going to replace the complete SSO route, replace the entire auth routes.post SSO provider route with the instrumented version. So we see here auth routes.post SSO provider. Let's copy this. Just make sure there's nothing else down here. No, there is not. Okay. So let's find that route. Here it is, SSO auth provider. I'm going to replace that. And let's see, what did we do to it? What did we add in here? So it's the same thing. We're wrapping it in. So we have a try catch. That's how we're actually getting all of those errors. We should have gotten the one earlier because the error boundary, excuse me on that. Not sure what happened. Demo gods again, but the try catch is ideal anyway. That's first of all good coding practice, and second, we want this custom span so that we can easily search our information. Caches that one coworker who means well but keeps handing you last week's answers with absolute confidence. That was glorious. You should tweet that. Absolutely. That was super great. You get around this by doing a flush in the SDK flow. It's usually not necessary. Okay, yeah. This was just an ingestion delay. We batch up and oh, okay. So actually Cody is saying and he's probably right. I'm not actually sure. It might not have been a cache issue. It could have just been, it was a kind of a long delay, Cody. I'm not sure. I think it might have been a cache thing. If it was a delay, usually we get that information pretty quickly. I wanted to give the benefit of the doubt that it was actually my browser and not Sentry, but it could be, especially when it's batched up. Okay, so yeah, we add in all this extra metadata. It's very similar to what we did earlier, and we're super running behind. I apologize on that, so I'm going to skip all that. It's very similar to what we did on the front end. Now, test back and tracing. Try logging in again and observe the trace and logs by viewing the Explorer traces and using the Trace Explorer to search for SSO authentication.server. And we're going to do that in the span description again. So first, is our app running? Yes, it is. Oh, didn't mean to open that. Quit that. Oh my God, force quit that. There we go. Go back here, refresh the page. Let's do a continue with GitHub. And there we go. We got our error again. You can see Sentry is sending some information. Some of that is just going to be my replay. So that's just like my mouse moving around. Each one of those should be those batches, actually. I'm pretty sure that Cody is talking about. So we've sent in our error. Let's go back into our, clicking too many things. Go back into our traces. Let's make sure we have our front end and our back end selected, which I did not. There we go. Apply. And then we're going to do span.description. Not contains, I actually just want is. There we go. And there's our back end stamp, which 33 seconds ago, much faster than that one cache issue that we had. That's why I do think it was a cache issue. So we got this pretty much instantly, which is what I expect. And now notice this is much more detailed, right? This is great. Now I have a whole bunch of information. If we take a look at this waterfall, I can see the user logged in. they clicked on the login button, which is that auth.sso. And before, all we saw was there was some kind of post request. Now we have that full request instrumented with our custom Sentry span. So we have a whole bunch of extra information on it. Right now, we're able to see all the middleware that ran through that request. And eventually it comes back down to where that error actually came back. Which eventually shows back up in the front end, which is where we like ultimately throw this. And that tells you the string to be decoded is not correctly encoded. All right, let's continue. So we have our information. Yeah, and we can, okay, so let's actually take a look at that. By clicking into one of these spans, you will show the trace waterfall where you can examine the properties of the span submitted. And the important thing we want to see here is, if I can find it, it's the same error we saw in the front end where it's going to say the signature was not included, which is what we just saw. What did it say? Additional data, it is auth.login_signature. Let's see if we can find that. There it is. Auth login signature provided false. There it is, right there. Looks a little different, but it's the same information. Okay, so ultimately that is our problem and what we need to fix. We're going to skip the log. We did logs earlier. We saw logs and I'm running behind. Now, this is where it starts getting super fun. If you've been sleeping this whole time, I don't blame you. Apologies, but you should totally wake up now because we're going to start doing some fun stuff. So we've got all that data in there, right? We have the logs. We went through the logs. We have the traces. We saw the traces. There's actually even more information that we didn't go into, but there's quite a bit of metadata attached. In fact, I'll just real quick, if you look at the screenshot, you can see all types of information we didn't talk about. Like there's an IP address, there's Chrome, there's the operating system. We have the performance data, like how long everything took, which is also part of the spans. But what we're going to do is we're going to feed all of that information into Seer, our AI, which is going to actually ingest all of that metadata. It's going to find a root cause, and then ultimately we're going to fix this issue automatically. Yeah, wake up, guys! Come on. All right, let's do this. Let's do it one step at a time because we're actually going to set up the automation as well. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the errors page. So let's do that. Let's go to issues. Sorry, not the errors page, the issues page. We see this right here. The string to be decoded is not correctly encoded. This is the main issue that we've been dealing with this whole time. And now if I go over to the right side, you can see we have this initial guess from Seer. The SSO token payload is being decoded by auth_service.ts, is corrupted or incorrectly formatted by the identity provider. Okay, so that gives us a little bit of a hint of what's going on. It's not too different from what we saw in the console. Blah, 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 blah. Let's go ahead and click find root cause. So that initial guess, it's really, I mean, it's more or less just a reformation of the error that we saw. But when we say we want to find a root cause, that's where it's going to actually dig into our code and try to find out why we're seeing that error. The first thing we want to do is configure our repos. We want to select the repos that Seer can explore before we set up GitHub. That lets Sentry connect to GitHub, but now we're actually specifically going to let Seer open up pull requests and things for us. So we're going to add a repository. We're going to add the build workshop, and it's a monorepo, so that's all we need. Let's hit back. And are we going to do this manually, or are we going to... Yeah, I think we're going to do it manually. Yeah, okay, so let's do this. We could hand it off to Cursor, but we're not going to do that for now. Let's start the root cause analysis. In fact, if I was going to hand it off to Cursor, there's a full automation. While this is going, I can talk about this. There's a full automation workflow you can enable, which I would recommend, especially when you get your project to a certain stability point, where you can tell Seer, hey, every new issue that comes in, I want you to analyze it. One of the first things it's going to do is actually part of that first guess is it's going to see how actionable something is. And we can tell Seer to take certain actions based on that actionability score, such as, should I open up a pull request automatically? Should I just give you that initial guess that I showed you, or should I go in and find the root cause. We can set up these different levels of integration that we want with it. So because we gave Seer access to our code on GitHub, and then we gave just now we gave Seer access to that repository so that it can actually open up pull requests and things. It's going to go through now, and we have I believe it is 3 stages. Let's double check. Yeah, 3 stages. First, we're going to do this root cause analysis. We're just going to go through, try and figure out what the issue is. Then after we find the root cause, we're going to have it create a solution. That's where it's really going to think about, okay, now I understand why this problem is happening. What steps would we need to take in order to resolve that issue? And then finally, once it has all of that context created, all of that, this plan that it's come up with, we can tell it to code up a solution. So in my experience, this is significantly better than just using like Cursor alone, which on the back end is using a lot of the same AI models. The difference is this has access to our execution environment feedback, right? When a user actually does something with some code, we can actually see what happens here versus, Cursor in your local machine can guess what's going to happen and then code for that. And then you can kind of do this like back and forth thing, but you don't really have the feedback loop. And that's what we're closing up here. We're saying, here's the source code. Here's what happened when we ran that code. What would it take to fix that? The animation of the Seer loading request lit the the Seer logo is really cool. And if you haven't seen it on Twitter, we have like a really cool mascot for Seer, like a physical one. Very creepy, very, very cool. Okay, so root cause. Front end failed to pass the generated login signature to the SSO endpoint, causing the backend to attempt decoding undefined, yada, yada. So here's the little breakdown of what happened. Now what we want to do is find a solution. So it now understands the problem. Now I need it to go through and understand how to fix the problem. I'm going to do the same thing here. Great. Okay, so if this works out, and we are using AI, so let's hope. But in my experience, it's really good. But what we should see is a solution exactly like this one. We have this to fix module 1, so hopefully it sees that comment that makes it stick out like a sore thumb. And eventually, what it's going to do is it's going to change this SSO login to add not just the provider but the login signature. Once we do that. Okay, we took a little skip there. Once we do that, we're going to commit that to our repository, and then we should have the issue fixed. So let's see where we're at. One of these. Here we go. Solution, pass the login signature to the SSO login in the login form.tsx to prevent the ATOB? I don't know what that is. ATOB. That must stand for something that I'm unfamiliar with. Let's code it up. ATOB. What was the error? It was the, I don't know what that stands for. Someone's points to whoever knows what that stands for. I think we must have said it earlier, but anyway, here we go. There it is. So here's the current line looks like this. This is what it should look like. It's matching exactly what we saw when we did this workshop last time. So that tells you something about how the AI is actually, I mean, maybe not deterministic, but it is successful each time. Here we go. There is the fixed solution. Here's the old code. Here's the new code. And I can check it out locally, or I can draft a pull request. Either one of these would be fine. It would probably be easier to check it out locally, but I will show you the pull request instead, because honestly, it's the one that I use. Okay, view PR. Here we go. And, is this part of the, I actually don't remember. Hold on. No, it's not. We don't even do this, do we? Hold on. Sorry, I'm skipping ahead real quick. Do we not mention this? I'm going to mention something that's not a part of this. Yeah, I can't believe we don't do that. It's because it's not going to be of much value here. That's why. Let's go to the pull request. Here it is. Something else I would usually do if it made sense here is I would type at Sentry review, and that will actually prompt Seer. And imagine this is like your own pull request with your own code changes. Thank you, Serge. I'll get back to that in a second. Imagine this is your own PR with your own code. I would use Sentry review to kick off this AI review of my code. In this particular instance, that's not going to be necessary, but that is one of the best features. ATOB is decodes base 64 encoded string back to a regular string. Awesome. Appreciate that. And that totally makes sense. I'm not going to wait for that because we don't have time. I'm going to merge the pull. Oh, it finished anyway. Merge the pull request. Go back here, kill it, get pull. Yes, I forgot to commit my changes. Hold on. Git commit -m init. How about we git add first? I'm too used to using cursor, folks. This is what happens when you use cursor too long. Oh, that's taking longer than you would think. Git add. Oh, no. Is it doing my node modules? What's taking so long? Yes. What is this? What is this you're trying to add? Is that my PNPM store? Oh my. Hold on. Here we go. This is why it's important to have a git ignore. Let's go back in the git ignore. Where is that? Here we go. Let's add the .pnpm store. I'm pretty sure that's what's being added in there. And let's reset this real quick. Hold on. Git reset. Git add. There we go. That was quick. Refresh this. There we go. Okay, we're doing great. So now let's commit that. And let's do that git pull again. Did it? It didn't get pulled before, right? Git pull. Oh no. Oh, it's divergent. Okay. Dang. I really didn't want to. I really didn't want to deal with this. I should have done it earlier. Here's what I'm gonna do. Here's what I'm gonna do. Can I still check that out locally? Because that'll be faster. No, I can't. Okay. We're gonna have Claude fix it because I can't be bothered here. Yes. Git pull fix conflicts. This is what AI was actually designed for. It is purely for fixing conflicts, because when you do things in the wrong order, this is what happens. So let me have it fix that real quick. Divergent. Yeah, I should have set up that automatic too. Yes. There shouldn't actually be much of a conflict here. Okay, well, let's let that do its thing. That should only take a second. Let's move on. Okay, so attempt to log in again. You should be greeted with the landing page of Sentry Academy. We'll test that out in just 1 second. I'm confident it will work. Now that we're able to log in, naturally, the next thing we'd want to do is to be able to search for courses that we can enroll in, right? Well, clearly not, because it is broken. So we'll give that a test. Let's see if this is done. Yes, allow all edits. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, should be done now. It's just going to do a merge commit. Yeah, I'll let it do that. That's fine too. We don't actually need that right now, but we'll take it. And we should be good to go. 3, 2, 1. Come on. There we go. All right. Let's get that dev server running again. Now that we are hopefully running correctly. Okay, and which login are we? Does it matter? No. Okay, great. So we're logged in. Doesn't matter which. We want to search for a course. Let's type in node. Okay. Search failed, missing required parameter Q. If we take a look at our URL, that might give us a hint of what's going on. Received parameters query. All right, let's figure out what's going on. So we already have Sentry set up. So all we need to do is go back to our issues page on Sentry, or issues feed. And we see here 21 seconds ago, we have a new issue that came in. It looks very similar to what we saw. And remember, if this, like, for new people, if this is a little confusing, why does this matter? Because when I'm over here, where is it? Over here, this is not my computer. This is some user, right? I don't know who this is. This is someone who is using our app. They're in a different time zone than us. We're asleep right now. But when we wake up in the morning, we're going to see this. And this is going to let us know that it thinks it's Android because I have this responsive thing on, like when you go into dev mode, it changes to Android. Anyway, so that's what we see. So anyway, we're seeing the error pop up in Sentry, but how can we use Seer and the Sentry MCP server, which we haven't really talked about yet, to help analyze and fix the issues quicker? So let's go ahead and get started doing that. Okay, so we're gonna set up the Sentry MCP server in our IDE. If you're not familiar with MCP, I imagine you probably are, but it is a way for our AI to communicate with basically other AIs. It's a context management system where Sentry offers a MCP server, and that MCP server offers tools that your AI can interact with. So for instance, if you install the Sentry MCP server, then your cursor can contact Sentry for docs. It can contact Sentry for information about your specific projects, like all of the traces and things like that. And it's going to be similar to how we used Seer in the app, but we're going to be able to do it on cursor. So what you're going to want to do, it's different depending on which IDE you are using. Most of them are, based on that VS Code. What is it, like VSX or whatever that is? So you can install like anything that way. You can also go into cursor and add this directly. There's a JSON file. Quite a few ways to do that. I'm going to skip that. The next thing you'll need to do is no matter which, if you're using Claude Code, if you're using cursor, it doesn't matter. It will tell you that you're going to need to authenticate. It's going to open up a web browser. You're going to click login. And then finally, you're going to get something that looks like this. And this is where I'm going to show y'all what that looks like. So if I go into my MCP settings, and I have quite a few MCP servers, but I have the Sentry one right here, and it's authenticated. And you can see it comes with some tools. MCPs always save me time. Yeah, I love MCPs. It's solid. I need to run some of my own. That's another thing. But Sentry's is hosted, which means you don't have to run your own. All you have to do is add that JSON file and it give you access to this. So we have this who am I that finds out who you're logged in as. I have more than one organization, as you saw, so this is very important. And then it will use all of these tools to dig in and get information about your project, which we're going to dive into. So enable Seer automation settings in your Sentry projects. In Sentry, visit projects, settings, Seer, add your repo. We'll do this for both the front end and the back end. Here we can fine tune the automation settings for how we want Seer to work. This is what I was talking about earlier with the actionability scores. So again, always jumping ahead of myself. Scan Sentry issues for a root cause analysis, and then what? So let's take a quick look at that. Yeah, and then we'll get back to the MCP. So let's go to project settings Seer. Let's go over here. Is there a faster way? No. There we go. Project settings. And I do believe I need to go in here. Seer, here we go. Oops, turn that back on. I accidentally clicked that. So we have scan issues. That was turned on by default. And now we have this auto trigger fixes, right? This is where you can get into your different automation levels. This is before you touch anything in Sentry. You can decide what you want Seer to do before you get involved. So the way that I have this set up right now, first of all, notice that the repository is set up. We actually did this earlier, so probably doesn't need to be in the workshop right there. But right now we have it set to auto trigger fixes on highly actionable and above. So if Seer detects that an issue is actionable enough, it will automatically analyze it in the background. And then by the time you see it, the root cause and solution will already be there for you. So we're saying we want to do that on Seer will automatically run on issues that it thinks have an actionability score of high or above. This targets around 10% of issues, but may vary on projects. So this will give you an idea. Let's just pretend that you had it really high. Like, let's just say minimally actionable and above. That would target 70% of issues, meaning 70% of the issues that come into Sentry would automatically have pull requests open for them, or we'll get to that in a minute. They'll automatically do something for you. And you can go in here to kind of like adjust. You can fine tune the noise to signal ratio, right? Like if 70 is too high, maybe you're getting some results that you don't want. You can lower it back down. 10%, I mean, it's pretty good. That's the default. In my projects, I might consider bumping it up because I actually have had like a really, really good experience with Seer. I really do trust it. So I'll give it a little bit more. Now, you should ask it where to stop. So by default, it gives us that guess that we were talking about. But it will also give you but it can give you up to whatever point in that process you want to stop at. So right now we're saying, hey, 30% moderately actionable. What I want you to do for those projects when they come in is automatically generate a root cause. We could hand it off to Cursor Cloud automatically, which is what we're going to get into in a second. Or we can have it find the solution for us. We could have it code up the changes and open up the pull request for us, like we were just talking about. So you can go to any one of these stages, find the root cause, generate the solution, code up the change, and then finally pull request, or just directly hand it to Cursor Cloud Agent. Get it up in the cloud on your Cursor account. Let Cursor do all the work. It's a lot of the same AI anyway, just a little bit different. So there's just different ways to work. You can see here, we can set Seer to hand off to Cursor. I am not going to do that in this workshop, but you totally can. What we are going to do is use the Sentry MCP server. And we can do that directly in Cursor. We did just set it up. We can also use the mcp.sentry.dev website. This is actually very, very cool. Oh, they've updated this since I've been here last. Well, that's cool. So we'll go to the live demo, connect with Sentry. Yeah, this is mostly the same. When we set up the MCP server, it's going to ask you what you want to give it access to. Always give it access to documentation. Triage issues would be very, very smart. Manage projects and teams, I'll leave that one off, but you totally could. And then we can kind of get like a Cursor-like experience right here in the web version, which is really, really cool. But it still has limited access to our code and such. So I actually prefer to do this in Cursor. What I'm going to do is we're going to go back into Cursor. So in your IDE's AI chat interface, use the MCP connection to query Sentry about the course search issue. So tell me about issues in this project in Sentry. Honestly, the way that's worded makes me feel like we really wanted it to work, but you don't have to be that specific. I ask it all the time, like, what are the biggest issues? And it knows to go to Sentry. You don't have to tell it, in Sentry, what is my issue. That might be different if you have other MCP servers, because like search issues is just one of our tools in the Sentry MCP. If you had like another MCP server that similarly had like a search issues, maybe you would have to be more specific then, but usually not the case. Okay, so workshop project issues, that's this code base. We see API error, this is the one that we're talking about. Missing required parameter queue. Okay, and we're gonna fix that. Tell me about the last autofix run. Yeah, let's do that because we did do that. Tell me about the last autofix run on issue ID, and we'll do front end 3. Was it front end 3, or I think it was? If it wasn't, we'll do it right now. Go in here real quick. Issues. Go to front end 3. Did we do? Oh no, it was actually, we were working on front end 2. Sorry, let's just change that to 2 for the sake of this argument, but they're basically the same error anyway. Okay, user wants to know about the autofix, and you can see it's running tools now, right? So it ran analyze issue with Seer. The Seer analysis found the issue, and here it is. Now we're giving it to us. Here's the analysis flow. Here's the required fix. Would you like me to apply this fix? We actually already did that, so that's one thing. It's not aware that we already merged it in. We told it to look at the issue. It did. It doesn't have the context that we've already fixed it, but that's how that works. Yeah, and then we could apply the fix. Once you've reviewed analysis and you're happy with the suggested solution, just ask Cursor to implement the fix. So this is the same. You can have it look at like the old issues that we've done, but we can also have it look at the new issues. I don't think review the analysis in Cursor. I feel like we skipped fixing that queue issue, which I would like to do. Fix, what was that? It was workshop front end 3. and we'll keep reading ahead while it's working on that, because I'm pretty sure that's what we were supposed to do. User wants me to fix it, analyze issue with Seer. Okay, so we'll come back to that in a second. It should run automatically for just a moment. Okay, recap. The automated analysis returns the issue and provides the exact fix needed. Here's what the debugging experience looks like in action. We just went through this, so I'm going to kind of skip through that. Here we go. Yeah, I don't know why we were looking at the, maybe I misread something, but we were looking at the old issue. Here we're talking about the new one, so that's what I actually want to do. So we're going to have it fix that now, which it's going through, and then we will apply the fix. So this is very similar to what we were doing in the web browser, where we had it say fix with Seer. It's just that we're doing it in Cursor now, which I haven't like truly tested it, so this is just like my gut feeling, but I feel like this is a better flow. It just has, I mean, one, you can talk to it more, right? When you're talking to Seer through Sentry's website, it's a little bit more like click a button, get a result kind of thing. Here I can have a conversation with Cursor, and it can go back and forth with Seer and have that conversation. So this is ideal in my opinion. So here we go. It's going through. It's finding the issue. There it is. There we go. It's missing. We had it set to query, but it's actually supposed to be queue. That makes sense. Planning next move. The fix is clean. I've changed it. Blah, blah, blah. There we go. Okay, it's fixed. So there's the fix. And if that was the only issue, maybe our search works now. Let's find out. I'm once again going a little off course. Nope, we're good. We're back on course. Here we go. So let's refresh this page. And there we go. We got, I mean, no results, but that's expected. It's not an error. It's no results. What did we actually want it to say? Let me go back here. All courses. So let's do observability. There we go. Now our search is working. So that's a realistic workflow of how this could go through, where a user comes onto your website, they experience an error. Whether or not they report it to you is sometimes an issue in the past, right? Like sometimes you have issues where users are experiencing problems and then they just never tell you about them. That's the biggest problem. But here we've automatically captured that. We didn't go into session replays. It's something I'd really like to go into, but we've automatically captured that. We found the issues, and then we've used AI to solve them, which is pretty awesome. Okay, we are so far behind, but I do want to finish, and we still have people hanging out. So thanks for hanging out with me. Sorry I'm taking so long. Hopefully we're getting good information though, and we'll have plenty of stuff that we can chop and cut later. So now, understanding AI performance with agent monitoring. This is going to be some fun stuff. This is part of that new paradigm of where we are in the future now, right? Like every website has an AI assisted chatbot, and that opens up a bunch of questions as to how it gets used, how much it costs you, and what kind of experience it's delivering, right? Because it's this black box of who knows. And we're going to use Sentry to kind of uncover that and take the lid off that box, and we'll be able to figure it out. So we have a chatbot as well as a course creation assistant that is powered by ChatGPT. Ooh, I should have. It's going to take me a second to get a token. Yeah, that's a mistake on my part. Sentry recently released AI agent monitoring, which gives you view into the performance and debugging for AI agents. Like I was saying before, one of the nice things is going to be that it'll keep track of how much money you're spending, which will be a huge part of this. And it's based on the AI SDK from Vercel, so which is typically, if you're writing a Node app and you're integrating with AI, this is typically how you're going to do it. So backend, enabling the SDK integration. We're going to browse to app server and then instrument.ts, and we're going to look inside the Sentry init call, and there's going to be an integrations array. And inside there, we're going to put the Sentry.Vercel all there was that one US senator who did the exact same thing. Sentry Vercel AI integration. Record inputs, record outputs true. So we're going to take this app server instrument, go to apps server instrument. Where is that? There it is. And okay, we actually have to add the whole integrations array. Just pop it down right here. Your app will probably have some other integrations installed as well. This is a very simple app, but basically what's going to look for now is going to check for anytime we use the Vercel AI SDK, and it's going to read the open telemetry data that is sent from it. So let's do that. Update the chatbot with the experimental telemetry configuration. This is what I was just talking about. Navigate to line 229 on the server source modules chat routes. So let's do that. 229 right here. There we go. And we're going to turn on experimental telemetry is enabled true, and we can give it a name, a function ID. This is metadata that will be easier for us to look into later. So we'll put it right here. There we go. And this, excuse me, this is going to tell the stream text function from Vercel's OpenAI SDK to submit this telemetry data, which Sentry is then going to automatically ingest thanks to our integration. Test the chat function in Sentry Academy. Click on the chatbot in the bottom right corner of the application and ask it to tell you about the courses available in Sentry Academy. Note this might take 2 attempts. Bugs happen. The problem is I do not have an OpenAPI key, and I apologize for that. That is my fault. Give me 1 second. That's actually going to be an issue. Let's see what happens first, because I would rather not. I don't think I can do this without exposing my key. Click on the chatbot in the bottom right corner of the application and tell you. Okay, so let's run this. And yeah, you can see right there, we don't have the key, which is going to be an issue. Oh, hold on. I think I'm getting, someone's giving me a helping hand here. Hold on. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to turn this off for just 1 second. Here we go. Yeah, hang out with me for a second while I grab this. Yeah. Is that... Take this, move this over here. Nope, you all can still see that. That's fantastic. Okay, take this. Okay, we're making progress here. Let me bring you back in. Take this. Go back in here. Okay, Surge to the rescue for giving us an AI key. Let me go into our .env file. Here it is. And this is going to be... Where'd it go? Here we go. It wasn't here. It's only here. Okay. What is it? It's open API key. Is that what it was? We have a key. We'll delete that later. Surge is a boss. Super appreciate that, Surge. Yeah, I didn't see an error. That's... Oh, there it is. Open AI API key. There it is. Open AI, of course. Did I put it in the wrong spot? OpenAI API keys. Is it front end actually? Hold on. No, it shouldn't be. Did I put it in the front end? No, I didn't. Let's see. Oh, I spelled it wrong again. I hit backspace too many times. Open AI API key. Let's try that one more time. There we go. Okay, OpenAI key successfully loaded. That's one thing you're going to need for this workshop. We should have brought up earlier. Apologies. Okay, we're going to go here, reload the page. We're going to go to the AI course builder. We're going to click on the chat. What did it say to ask about? We're going to ask it to tell you about the courses available in the Sentry Academy. We have a lot of things open. Tell me about the courses in Sentry Academy. we're getting to that time of day where there's going to be, see the lines on me? This is going to move up and right into my eyes in the very near future. Okay, so while that is responding, he did say this might take 2 attempts. Bugs happen. I'm not really sure what bug could be causing that, but it might take 2 attempts, so we might try twice. Tell me about the courses in Sentry Academy. There we go. Okay, and you could tell that time it was actually loading for real that time. Available courses, front end, yada yada yada. Serge, thank you again for that key. Don't show it. Oh well, you knew that was going to happen. That was the whole reason I didn't want to do it. So you got to go delete that key now after this. There is no way to not show it. Okay, so we'll do that. Okay, so we have it working. Review the results in the AI agent monitoring. This is where this is going to get pretty cool. So check this. So first of all, just know let's just recap that real quick. Not that part. This part. Where was it in the auth? I already forgot where it was. Let's scroll back up. In the chat routes. Gato Linux, thanks for staying so long. It's a super long stream, so super appreciate it. Here it is, the stream text. So we have this chat request is enabled true. We have that on. We have the OpenAI request. So now we're going to go back into Sentry.io. I'm actually not sure. I mean, there were some things we could have sped up, but this was a long one. I don't know how we would have done it that much faster. I could shave off 20-30 minutes. Let's go into insights and then AI agent. Is that where we're going? We're going to agents. Yeah, AI agents. And here we go. So we see the one request. I should probably send a few more in just to like make it easier to see what we have. But you can see we have this one trace. It's a long one. I should refresh. Let's refresh this page real quick and do another call. Tell me about the courses. This will also give us another one to look at. That's still going to take twice for some reason. Tell me about the courses. I thought that was going to be a one-time thing. Here we go. Okay, so now come back here. Let's do a little refresh. It might take a second to pop in. Yeah, it's going to take a second. One more second. Nah, it'll come in. Give it a few seconds. You can still see our first call. What I really want to show you is you can see that it made 5 LLM calls. That's just how these modern things work. And it used 4.7 thousand tokens. So that's where it's going. You got to remember too, it's not just like a simple back and forth where you think like, oh, why did you use so many tokens? It's because we use these chat APIs now, right? So like there's a bit of a thinking process involved that uses more tokens. It also uses all of the context from the page. So it makes sense. And this is, I mean, if you're thinking to yourself, wow, that seems really high, that's the point. That's why you want to monitor these things to keep an eye on how much you're spending and doing when you're doing these AI things. If you can add an AI chatbot to your website, but if you're not paying attention, it can really start to add up. So we made that second call, and it's kind of interesting too. You can see this is a really good example of like non-determinism. This second one actually made a tool call where the first one did not, and it actually made like less LLM calls. So it probably got the same information. It's just that the first one used more LLM calls to do it, and the second one used less calls, but it used a tool call. We could dive in deeper. We can look into trace, and we can actually find out what it did. So here is the type tool call, get all courses. That makes sense. That's exactly what we would expect to happen. So the first, let's see, what did the first one do? The first one, hold on, 7.7. Am I looking at the same thing here? Tool call. Well, while I'm looking at this, just pay it. This is a good thing to notice too. You can put in when you're setting up the Vercel AI SDK and the Sentry SDK, and for that matter, you can put in the cost of tokens. So now when we calculate how many tokens we've used per call, we can use this information to actually calculate how much that cost. Is the total? Yeah, here we go. So this particular chat request cost us this much money because it used however many tokens, which we can see in here as well. It's easier to see in the UI rather than from this list, but times the amount of money that we spent, and that's how many tokens, that's how much money we spent, because it's money times token usage. Okay, what else do we want to see? Back in the Academy, you should see a dashboard that looks similar to below. Yep, we just looked at that. Good for us. We're on the right track. Explored the full trace waterfall. Clicking on the view trace button at the top right of the trace will take you to the full trace waterfall. And this view shows you the full trace of the request, including the AI agent call, tool calls, and any other backend calls. So similar to what we were looking at before, but we will include not just the AI, we will include the full trace. So let's start at the top. The user loads the AI course builder page. They click on that button, which we know is the chat button. We could add more instrumentation here if we wanted to make that a little bit clearer. And then we made a post request. This is when we actually entered in the chat, right? So we posted to API chat. That's the AI endpoint there. It goes through some middleware. The middleware is all quick, right? So like 0.25 milliseconds, 0.1 millisecond. This is all nothing. And then it gets down here. We're finally in the Express API chat handler. So this whole block took 2 seconds, we can see. And this is important too, right? Because you want to know how long did the AI response take? And if the AI response is taking too long, is that providing a negative experience to your users? So here, 2 seconds, I mean, it's pretty good for AI, actually. I'm happy with that. So we can dig in here and we can see, this is what we were looking at earlier. In fact, I like this view a little bit better. 583 tokens in, 15 out. So there was a total of 598 tokens. That's actually very low on the out. I'll have to double check that, but this looks good here. The duration, this is all the same information, but now we get it in the full context of our span. You can also see here, I'm not sure what was going on here, but we had some kind of database operation at the end. Looks like it's just selecting the core. Okay, so this is probably from the tool call. Yeah. Right here, we can actually see it. Not probably from the tool call. It says it right there. So you can see the after we hit the API chat, we do this gen AI, right? So this is all of the AI execution that's happening here. Here's the stream text function that we were just talking about. And then that called itself this gen AI execute tool, which is what caused this database read to happen, right? This database read was returning back all of the courses because of this tool call. So that gives us the full view. Now we totally understand what our app did. If you can imagine, if we were trying to debug, say we were having problems, right? Like we have this AI bot, it's not working, it's not doing tool calls, it's not doing something. This is how we can dive in and find out, and not just for ourselves, but for our users, right? So we have who knows how many users every single day. Maybe 90% of them don't have any issues, but for the 10% that do, this is where we want to start digging in and try to find out what's going on. We can quickly move through instrumenting the same flow for monitoring our course builder, which is a bit more complicated of an LLM call. So enable the experimental telemetry configuration on the course builder. We're going to navigate to modules AI routes. Modules AI routes. We're going to go in here. We're going to add the experimental telemetry portion on the stream text call. Let's find that. Stream text, there it is. Is there only one in here? There's actually more. Let's just double check. Which one do we actually want to use? Okay, let me just double check. Okay, good. So we put it in the right spot. There was only one stream call function there. And the function for that is going to be the generate course. If we wanted to, we could look deeper into that. But really all that's in here is there's some instructions for the AI LLM inside the message to say, hey, go generate a course. There's nothing very interesting happening in there. So navigate to the course builder and select the create course button on the top right. Fill in the prompt for a lesson that you want to create a course for. It doesn't matter. I like to restart the dev server just in case. It should work just fine without restarting it, but especially for the demo gods, let's go ahead and do that. And now we're going to create a new course. And let's say a course for animating a bouncy ball in CSS. Generate course. And we can't just go over to Sentry yet because the call is still waiting. Not only do I need the call to complete, but I need Sentry to then send it. So we have to wait for this information. Right now, you can see that it's pending. Depending on what the result is, that's what Sentry is going to act on. So let's see what happens. There we go. We got a 200. And now, in fact, yeah, I'm in the network tab. There we go. You see like this envelope Sentry. So some stuff just got sent to Sentry. That's good. That's how I know that it made it there. And now I can, well, let's go back to here real quick. Review the created course. All right, so let's do this first. We'll review the created course. Yep. After a few moments, the course will be created successfully. You'll be able to see the course list and click in it to review the topics to cover. Let's take a look. Did we get ours? It like refreshed to the homepage, didn't it? But we had a 200. That was interesting. I think we had a bug. Let's try it again. Create a course for a bouncy CSS ball. Try that one more time. And if there was a bug, I'm just curious, did we happen to catch that? Yeah, we did. No, that was 20 minutes ago. Okay, we didn't catch whatever just happened. And I think it could have been something with our dev server. We'll come back to that in a second. All right, course created successfully. Oh, it did it again, didn't it? Uh-oh. No, we're not getting to the page we're supposed to get. There's something going on there where it's like loading us to a separate page, but that's okay. I think we could probably end up skipping that because it's really the same information. Let me just go through here real quick. We should, in fact, we might not even need it at all. You should be able to see the course in the, oh, sorry. I thought it was going to bring us directly to it. Did it just add it to the list? Yeah, it did. Okay, I'm sorry. It's right here. My mistake. Here's the pieces. I thought it was going to load in directly. Here is our course chapters. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Debugging. How accurate is this? Yeah, it looks pretty accurate. Other than, the steps are not real. It's just like these little recaps, but pretty cool. Okay. We can get rid of that. Okay, so return to Insights, AI agents, navigate to the AI agents, and we should see a bunch more calls now. And specifically, we're going to see a bunch of tool calls. Selecting the Tools tab shows you statistics for the different tool calls that have been made. When we dive into any of these, we'll be dropped into the Trace Explorer, where we can query and search across all the traces in the environment. So this is going to be exactly the same as what we're looking at, but it's going to be a little bit more in depth. What am I looking at? Insights, AI agents. Here we go. We'll go to Tools. And there's the Create Course tool. So I'm going to go in there. And now I can see we did it twice, right? So let's click on the last one. And here we go. It's a little bit more complicated. Can you all see that fine? Yep. Cool. So the user goes to the AI Course Builder page. They click on the Create Course button, which I think we should have some information here. We might not have a name on that. That's okay. They create the course, create course button. It creates a post to the API AI generate course API. And then if we scroll down past all the middleware, we can start seeing the handler for that particular API point. So the first thing it does is it makes a database call. Let's see what's going on here. So we're fetching all of the courses, and then we're invoking AI at the same time right here. Is that right after? Sorry, it is right after. Right after we're invoking AI, we're calling the tool call for create course. Then we're generating some text, creating another tool call. Which one is this? Also create course. Yeah, I'm assuming, let's click at both of those. Let's see what happens. Let's click on this one. So this is the tool call itself, and then is this the output? Yeah. Right here. There we go. And there's our output. Course creating a bouncy CSS ball animation that has been successfully created and published 10 lessons. And then you can see that is where all that information was entered into our database. Right after this tool execution, there is these auto-grouped DB instructions. So you can see select the user, insert into courses, insert into lessons, and this is where it's starting to create that AI course for us. All right, anything else we want to look at in here? Cool. That is the majority of that. We went a little out of order on that, but that is the majority of it. Even what we're about to talk about in a second, we actually went over earlier too. So because we jumped around a little bit, but that's the majority of the situation with the AI view. We'll take one more quick look at it because we're wrapping up here. If I go back to the overview page, you can see models we can break it down into. So we're using GPT-4o Mini right now. We have the tool calls. And then in overview, we can just get a general sense of everything that's going on. We can see all of the LLM calls here, how many tokens we're using. This will be really useful if you're trying to keep track of your spending. The average duration is going to be really useful if you want to know like what kind of user experience you're delivering. Hey, no problem joining late. We're super late too. We should have ended like over an hour ago. So glad to have you here. Thanks for coming in towards the end. We've had our ups and downs, but it's been a fun time. We're just now gonna quickly go over the last part here, which we've really already covered. So I'm really just gonna do a review. I kind of took the opportunity to talk about the PR review when we were talking about Seer earlier. Let me just dive through here, make sure we're not going to miss anything. We've already, okay, yeah, let's do this. Yeah, let's go through it. How much time? Can we get through it? I'm going to say no. We kind of already did it earlier. I'm going to skip this. I apologize. For time, I'm going to skip this, but only because we've really already done it. And if you want to go through here, you can, but I'm going to show you the quick version of what we did earlier just to recap. I'm going to go back to GitHub. And actually, I'll pop in here. If you remember, we actually used the MCP server connected to Seer. Now, you could do this either way. You could use Seer in the AI, in the UI, or you can use Seer in Cursor, or you can use Seer in our online hosted MCP server with the online demo. But either way, what the point is once we have errors that come in, we can talk to Seer. So I can say, what are the latest errors on this project? And it will come through. It's going to use the tool calls. So there you go. You see how it's using MCP again. It's using that search issues tool call from the Sentry MCP, and it's going to go find our latest issues. Here we go. We actually have an n+1 query, which is something that we totally want to fix. And that's actually a really good example. I don't even think that's part of this workshop, if I remember correctly. Is that in here? No, it's not. Okay, cool. Really good thing to point out. It probably should be part of this workshop. Sentry automatically detects n+1 queries. So if you write your code in a way where you have to query a database for a result and then use that result to query the database again, and you do this kind of workflow over and over again, it's a really slow process, and Sentry can actually find those automatically. So I'm not going to go through the whole thing here because we're going really off script here, but I can say, fix this. And now what's going to happen is Seer is going to get involved. Again, you can see that it's using the Sentry MCP server to get the information about the issue. Now it's digging into all of the included metadata, all of the extra context, and it's going to come up with a solution for us. And then we can go through and open up a pull request, which is what we did earlier. And I'm going to apologize for not going through this last segment just for time, because we're super over time, and we did already do all of this because I did things out of order. So apologies again. If you want to go through that, you totally can. But we're just recapping it now. So this wasn't even an issue that was supposed to be part of this workshop. It's a real issue that happens to exist inside this code. And you can see, so Seer went through it, found the information. It also has access to the source code here, just because we're in Cursor. That's not even really part of Seer. And it found the issue. The reason it found the issue, though, is because Seer had access to the source maps that we gave it earlier, right? So when Seer found the error, it knew where the error was in the source code, and it was able to communicate that that information to Cursor. Question: are AI spans available on the self-hosted version? No, they are not, unless someone wants to correct me. But I don't think that they're likely not going to be showing up anytime soon. That's one of the like core features of the hosted version. That's basically that. The AI versions are going to be the AI parts are going to be in the hosted version. Will they ever come to the self-hosted version? I'm not entirely sure. To be continued on that one. Okay, so how did it go? We have fixed. Before we had this N1 problem, and it was because we had this for loop, right? So for const course and course loop, we're going to do some kind of database operation and then do something. We don't want to do that. This is a bad pattern, and Sentry automatically saw that bad pattern because when we actually made a database request, Sentry tracked it and noticed, hey, this is doing this weird waterfall thing that it shouldn't do, and logged it as an error. Then we were able to take that error and open it in Cursor, say, please fix it. This reduces 7 database queries, 1 plus 6 courses down to 1 query, significantly improving performance. Honestly, I think that's better than the demo we had set up. The last thing we would need to do, I will do this because even though we did it earlier, I'm going to recap it one more time. So let's just do chore. Let's do another branch. Hold on. Terminal. And actually, I would love to. Which file was this? This was the routes.ts. Let's do everything except routes.ts. Which one was this, though? This is the courses routes. Okay, this one. So let me just get rid of these real quick. Give me a second to set us up for this demo. There we go. Chore, add, just get rid of that. Okay, now new branch, checkout. Git checkout. What am I doing? Git checkout. B test Sentry. Then we're going to add this change. Okay, so this is our n+1 fix, right? I'm going to publish that branch. And if I go back to GitHub and I go to my repositories and I go to our build workshop and open a pull request, give it a little automatic summary there. Oh, I did that because I thought it was going to be faster. I was wrong. As soon as I started typing. Okay, of course. Okay. There we go. Add that in there. That's more than I expected to be in there. Create pull request. Clearly I did something wrong. We never pushed. We never pushed. Crap. My mistake. All right, whatever. This isn't going to work too well, but we'll try to. It doesn't matter for the demo. For the demo, let's just say that we have this pull request going, and now I have it automatically set up. But let's say you don't. You can type in @Sentry space review, press commit or comment, excuse me, and that's going to start the Sentry review. You can see that Sentry responds with these little eyes as a comment, and it's going to go through the changes in this pull request. It's going to use the context that it has about our application and write a review on this pull request. Now in this PR, it was only supposed to be this change, and we actually have like all of our changes in there. So I imagine that this pull request will have tons and tons of comments, and they're not going to be super well organized, but it should go through and come back with some comments. And we did see this early. If you're joining late, you haven't seen this yet, but earlier in the stream, we did the Seer code review when we were talking about Seer earlier. So that is the workshop. Copilot is never not Copilot. And they're both, I'm not going to lie, they're both they take a little while, but not Copilot. This is Seer. I will actually often use both because why not? Because I have access to them. But sorry, there's such a delay. I forgot that you're talking about Copilot generating the pull request text. Yeah, I agreed. That is always slow. I'm not really sure what's up with that. Cool. Anyway, so that was the workshop. Again, sorry, we did have a few little hiccups, but none too bad. We got through it. I'm going to share the workshop link one more time. If you're joining us, you should already have this, but I'm going to put it in the chat anyway. Can you invoke a review? Yeah, you totally can. In fact, I do it all the time. You can't. Can you do it on a pull request? That's a question. I don't think you could invoke one on a pull request from MCP. I doubt it, but I do use it to review my code all the time. So I come in here. So like typically what I'll do, right? Let's just let's break something real quick. Go in here, just like delete something, and now I have this code change, right? So what I'll go in here and do is, before I'll do it, I'll say review, and that'll just use cursor, which is totally fine. But if I know that the issue that I'm dealing with has something to do with an issue on Sentry, I will specifically tell it to like have Seer review this code. And now Seer can go in. I don't like leaving the IDE. Yeah, totally. Now I can have Seer review this code from here. So you could obviously use like the GitHub CLI to open the pull request, and then okay, so here you go. Yeah, I have an answer for you. So you could use the GitHub CLI to open the pull request. You can also use the GitHub CLI to comment on a pull request. So actually, if you use the GitHub CLI to comment on a pull request at Sentry review, yes, you can in fact trigger the Sentry review from your IDE. That would totally work. And then you would have to do the GitHub PR list to get the information back out. Just a thought, this makes a lot of tension for many devs having review and feedback idle on the fly. Yeah, that's totally fair. In fact, it kind of reminds me of like this agent review thing that's on the side here. I think that's a pretty cool idea, and I'll pipe it up the chain. Like maybe we could have like a Seer drop down here or something, and we could even do like an agent like a PR review built in here. I think GitHub even has something like that. Isn't that true? Yeah, with the GitHub alias just works. Exactly. Yeah. So you could even alias the whole thing, right? You could have a GitHub alias that's like GitHub. We can even set this up. We could do like GH space Seer review space and then like the PR number, or you could even have it infer the PR number automatically based on the branch. So there's quite a few things here. In fact, we could probably make a whole MCP server for this if we wanted to, and then monitor it with Sentry. Just a natural integration, I think. Yeah, that's a really good point. I'm gonna pass that up. I think what we would want is like some kind of little drop down here that like shows you the status of the current pull request, so that you can kind of like go in here, edit your code, do all your linting and your testing and whatever it is that you do. You can then push it up to the pull request. Then you could run GitHub, Seer review or something, have those come in here, just like how agent review does like this find issues thing. It's just that it would be on the executed code, which is pretty cool. Yeah, this is really cool, really smart. In fact, I'll go deeper. Maybe we'll do another workshop on this. But if you were to pair this with like a staging environment and then have like end-to-end tests, that would be huge, because then you would have the actual execution feedback loop of like your real running code in the execution environment, and you'd be able to do all of that right from your IDE. That would be pretty sick. All right, I'm gonna throw out one last chance. I know there's like a 30-second delay, 40-second delay. One last chance for folks to ask questions. Again, really appreciate anyone who was here with me. We've been here for 2 hours and 25 minutes. Technically, this was supposed to be a 45-minute stream, so you can guess how that went. We had a few little hiccups in the beginning, but we got through everything. Appreciate y'all hanging out with me. Happy to answer any questions. We'll be in the Discord, the Sentry Discord, so you can always at me there, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. And that's it, folks. I really appreciate y'all hanging out with me. I'll give you another few seconds to drop those questions in chat if you have them. And that's it. We're wrapping it up. What else do we have going on? We have some other workshops going on, but I don't know them off the top of my head, so I apologize. Check out the Sentry. What is the name of that thing? Are you kidding me? What is the name of our event? Luma. I couldn't remember Luma's name. Check out the Sentry Luma. In fact, I'm going to put a link in there. I use Luma at least once a month for our meetups here in Philadelphia, and I could not remember their name. Let me get you our organization on Luma. Here you are. I'm sure you'll get all of this emailed to you as well. Last question. I'm working with GitHub Enterprise and Sentry self-hosted. That's awesome. I love hearing that. I need to self-host Sentry myself. I actually don't do that yet, just because I have the cloud version. So, you know, we are doing in-house things similar. Happy to chat in DMs, snapping. Oh yeah, listen, anytime. I'm here to help you. It's not like a support. I'm developer experience, so it's not like support. I'm just happy to help. My Twitter, by the way, is TechSquidTV. You can always DM me there as well. I'm also in our Discord, so you can DM me there. Lots of places. I actually don't know how to pronounce Ilavi. You know who I'm trying to say. Is it I love you? I love you. You got this. Fantastic time watching live. I really appreciate you. Thanks for hanging out. I think you were here the whole time. Really appreciate it. You got us through. Oh, you're DevX as well. Solid. Sentry DevX. Yeah. Let me know how I can help. I'd be super happy. I'll send a Snapchat in solidarity, and maybe we can monitor it together. Cool, folks. All right. I will see you on the Discord. I will see you on the Twitter, the LinkedIn, all of the places. And we'll be doing more of these soon. So like I said, I did put the Luma in the chat. Make sure you follow us on Luma so that you get invited to all of the upcoming workshops. And we'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Have a good one, folks.